Hi there, fellow Fremonters. I'm Jared Fisher, and this week we are continuing to go through that provocative chain of pearls that Jesus used to open his sermon about the kingdom of heaven in Matthew. We are in the seventh beatitude, and he tells us in Matthew 5:9, "Blessed are the peacemakers, for they will be called sons of God." I could be wrong, but it seems to me that the Beatitudes progress from a dynamic of God identifying with us to one of us identifying with God. And in that frame, this Beatitude seems to be about us partnering with God and what he's up to. Peacemaker is a compound word. The first, we could say, references the Hebrew word shalom, which is a concept that's really at the heart of the hope and the longing developed in the Old Testament. It's a flourishing at all scales. It's the centerpiece of what the Messiah will bring. And it's a cosmic reset in a world full of violence. And the second word of this compound word means to make or construct or cause, meaning that it's not about me avoiding conflict, but about actively moving toward reconciliation. We're called to construct peace. With each instruction in this sermon, I think it's helpful to consider how is Jesus the ultimate fulfillment or embodiment of any particular saying that he's given. Ephesians 2, Paul talks about how really the message of the gospel, the great work of Christ, is about God making peace with his enemies and making peace among his enemies. The dangerous thing about nursing resentment and hostility and judgment is that it almost always feels like the right thing to do. We attack because our cause feels righteous. But this is not the cause, this is not the mode that God is calling his children to. How many of the conflicts that we are in our families, at work, in our engagement with the news, do both sides of any particular conflict that comes to mind, do both sides take on the mantle of a righteous victim? This is a tragic and it's a spiritually dangerous place to be. The end of James 3 and the beginning of James chapter 4, it describes working for peace as evidence of the gift of God's wisdom, while quarreling and fighting is evidence of living as an enemy of God. Which means we should probably be asking God for our help, God for his help with this, because it's not our nature. Romans 14 teaches us that the call of the church is for each of us to be working towards peace with one another. This is a higher calling than winning kind of each rhetorical battle in what Paul calls disputable matters. Part of being a peacemaker in the context of a church community is to have a vision of helping to build over time a diverse community that hosts together the glory of Jesus and together recognizes his authority. My opinions about every issue do not need to take center stage. Or, as 1 Corinthians 6 asks, why not rather be wronged? I've really been taken lately with this idea that the redemption story of the Bible shows God confronting the forces of evil, not on the basis of his power, which would have really settled matters long ago, but on the basis of his character, and that is really the game that he has chosen to enter into. Slow to anger, rich in mercy. The punishment that brought us peace was upon him. And that's our call too. Sometimes we find ourselves in a conflict that we have made, and sometimes it just lands in our lap. And either way, as we struggle to make peace in our relationships, as we work for forgiveness and reconciliation, we are joining the real fight for what is right, not against other people, but against the spiritual forces of evil at work in the world. Thank you.